Hi, Ipsita. Good morning. Give me a minute. We will start. Okay. In last class, we have talked about endpoints, VPC endpoints, that is interface endpoint, right? And also we discussed about Elastic File System. Submit and okay. Let's start. So we have been talking about these VPC endpoints, interface endpoint, and I have already created this EC2 instance. Instance. Let us start this start instance. And if you see here, we have assigned I am role EC2 and S3 test, but don't know for some reason uh, it's not getting the CLI is not responding. It's unable to connect with S3. So let's see. It's running. Connect. Let's wait for some time. Okay, connect. See AWS S3 LS. Right. So I think it's a issue from AWS side. Otherwise, we have assigned the roles, right? write roles. Click on this. See, there is a role EC2 and S3 test which assigns permissions to access S3. Say S3 full access is there for EC2. So let us talk about this later. Let's see if CLI access if it works again, then we will see with the interface endpoints, right? And how to use interface endpoints. I have already created a interface endpoint. Right, two endpoints are there, S3 endpoint and EC2. Since we have assigned S3 role, we would be able to access S3 services via private link without having any user. And here we have to use this. That's it. You can also use these are zonal endpoints. For we know that there are three zones, 1A, 1B, 1C. So this is 1B zonal endpoint, then this is 1A zonal endpoint, and this is 1Z zonal endpoint. So to use this, we have to say S3 ls and endpoint URL, of course region. It's better to give region AP hyphen south hyphen 1 and I think this one. And yeah, no hyphens, endpoint URL HTTPS, copy and paste it here. This one, copy and paste. So regional one. But anyways, I think there is some problem with the CLI. So we are not able to, it's saying not able to reach this HTTPS API. So let us talk about this later. And I'm closing this EC2 instance, and we will talk about let's go to services, databases, RDS and DynamoDB. So let us go to RDS, Relational Database Service. Okay. So before that, let us stop the EC2 instance. Okay, and come to RDS. And these RDS are AWS Managed Relational Database Service. That means PaaS, Platform as a Service. Right? If you want your own database, yes, you can have it in your EC2 instance. Rather than that, we have RDS databases, RDS as well as NoSQL databases are there. DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. And this is the place where you can create your RDS service or RDS instance. AWS calls everything as instance, RDS instances. And create a database. And it says standard create or easy create. So you set all configurations or options, including ones for availability, security, backups, and maintenance. That is standard create. Or create with basic configurations and set up later. Let us go for standard create. And coming to database engines, AWS is providing all these engines: Amazon Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, and Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server. And Amazon Aurora is AWS own product. They say that it's combination of there are two additions. One is MySQL compatibility and Amazon Aurora with PostgreSQL compatibility. But anyway, these are not free tier eligible. MySQL, it has a limitation something. So let's go for MySQL anyway. Amazon Aurora is also a MySQL database, but it has two additions. That's it. And as a solution architect, your role is not dealing with database or writing queries or not these things. Provisioning the service itself, provisioning, taking backups at most. Your database engineer will take care of other things. So you should know where you have to use the database and how to provision the service, etc. So let us provision the service database. Do you want production, dev test, or free tier? So let us go for free tier. And this option is available for MySQL. I think for other databases it's not there. So it's better to go for MySQL. And then settings, use a database instance identifier, nothing but name your database. Let us call it as demo database. And credentials and settings, you should set a username and password. Just give me a minute, guys. Yes. Okay, we have named it. It's a DB identifier means name of your database, and master username. Can give any other name. That's a 360 admin. And password, you can give your password or auto generate password. And these password you have to use again when you want to connect with your database. And DB instance class, so by default it's bustable class, and our database instance is running on t2.micro. and what operating system, etc., how many EBS. It says that it's not EBS optimized. We need not bother about all these things. So with the increase of size of your database, you need not worry about adding more EBS volumes or modifying the volumes, updates, upgrades of your OS, and also the database service itself. It's not your job because it's AWS managed service. So all we know is to increase the performance of our database, we can choose the instance type. So if I don't want to go with T2.micro, since we have selected free tier, other options are disabled for us. Otherwise, you can go and choose your own instance type. Go up. Where is this instance type? Here. So if you want M family, since you are it's a database, M family provides a large memory. So you can go to M family, right? So based on your database size and the number of queries that comes to your database. So based on that, you can choose the instance type or instance class. So standard includes M classes as and memory optimized classes includes R and X classes. Whereas this is a free tier eligible one, only burstable classes, T classes are there. And again, we know that T2.micro is eligible for free tier. So by default, T2.micro has been came here. So include previous generation classes if you want, enable, otherwise we will go with the latest generation classes. And storage type of your EBS. See, database service is actually running on some computer, EC2 instance. So what storage of that instance do you want? Do you want SSD or provision IOPS magnetic? Let's leave it default general purpose. Allocated storage 20 GB. If you want, you can increase it. And storage auto scaling, enable storage auto scaling. Here we are setting up a specified limit. If 1000 GB it exceeds the threshold 1000 GB, then automatically it adds more instance for database instances. We know auto scaling, right? Like how it works in EC2. Same here also in database instance. We have given there we have given CPU utilization as threshold. Here we are giving the threshold as some number GB. And this is minimum, maximum is this. Availability and durability, it's disabled for free tier. Otherwise, you can choose multi-AZ deployment. And these database services are regional, like EC2 instances. Database services are not global, they are regional services. Regional services means you to achieve that redundant and to make your application highly available one, you have an option of keeping a backup or going for something like multi-AZ deployment, but not multi-regional one, because it's a regional service. Within the region, you can have a backup plan and one more availability zone. So multi-AZ deployment. Connectivity. In which VPC we want, since for all regional services, VPC is mandatory, we know that. You can go with default VPC or create your own VPC and you can mention it here. So go with default VPC, subnet group, and this subnet group defines IP ranges for DB instances, and this can be used in VPCs you selected. See here, we don't find those availability zones 1A, 1B, 1C. Those subnets are not there here. So this is a different subnet group for DB instances, database instances. And from that subnet, your database instance will get an IP address. And we don't know where this subnet group is. It can be in any availability zone. And public access, by default, it's no. RDS will not assign public IP address to database. However, if you want to publicly access through EC2 instance, yes. You can also privately access database through EC2 instance. Anyway, it's fine. So if you want like your database receive from public internet, then yes. So if you don't want that, then keep it as private. Only the instances, services within the VPC can communicate with the RDS service. That is the difference. So if I have this public access, yes, I can use this database from my laptop also. I can connect to this database from my laptop. If public access is no, then I have to use only EC2 instances to connect with this database. EC2 instances or ECS, any service which is within the VPC, within this VPC can only reach this database if public access is no. And VPC security group, you can choose existing or create new. Let's say create new security group. So this is default VPC, right? So it will be already having one. So let's say choose existing default. So let's go with default. Availability zones. Say here we are getting 1A, 1B. So 1A. So in 1A availability zone, in this default subnet, which is created for database instances, our database will get an IP address. I have chosen availability zone as 1A. And database password authentication options. Let's keep it as password authentication, password and IAM database authentication. We know IAM roles or IAM user policy has to be there. Then only along with password you can access the database. And password, and this is something Kerberos authentication. So this Kerberos provides an authentication, choosing a directory in which you want to authorize. So if you want that, you can go. So AWS also offers a directory service. If you want to uh, um, keep this database in your Active Directory, then it comes into the picture. Okay, and we'll go to additional configuration here. Initial database name, let us leave it. It's optional. We already named our instance. And DB parameter group, option group, the other things, it has to be these things only. These are default groups, default MySQL 8.0 groups. And then backup. And by default, automated backups are enabled. And if you want to customize or if you don't want a backup plan, you can disable it. Suppose automated backup plan is enabled, then we have these options which you can customize. Retention period, number of days that RDS can retain data. So, right, up to 7 days it will keep your backup. And not only up to 7 days, even after that. But what happens since it's automated, for every um, let's say here maintenance window is there, select window. Say if every Monday your database gets maintained, you can specify the time. Within the half an hour of duration your database get maintained by Amazon. it will get updates or upgrades, all these things. So at this time, if you want, we are also automating backup plan, right? So it will also take a backup. And with new backups, it will delete the old backups when new backups are coming in. And the max days where it can retain your backup is 7 days, not more than that. So any new backups are always available, and old backups it can retain up to 7 days. And backup window, when sorry, it's maintenance window and backup window is different. Maintenance is maintaining your database, and here is the backup window. At what time you want AWS to take backup? They'll ask you to select the window, but it's not that AWS takes backup only at that time. There is something called as point in time restore available. We will talk about them later. So let's select window. Say for example, I want 23 23:30 hours within this time period. I want uh, an database backup to be executed at this time. And monitoring, enable enhanced monitoring. By default, monitoring will be there on all the services. However, if you want an enhanced monitoring with that extra charge, you can go opt for this. And there is something called as CloudWatch. And using that CloudWatch, you can monitor all the services. And if you want to monitor these services at minute time slots like 10 seconds, in 10 seconds interval, 30 seconds interval, so you can go and enable monitoring. And however, here also has our enable enhanced monitoring. Monitoring metrics are useful when you want to see different processes. So enable enhanced monitoring. So it's asked granularity 60 seconds by default. If you want at 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you can. Monitoring role default. So audit, error, general, slow query logs. So all these things will be logged in CloudWatch logs. And since it's logging in some service called CloudWatch, we need a role, because database, when there is an error or slow query, if you want that logs to be there in CloudWatch, that means database has to write to CloudWatch, log into CloudWatch log group, and it need an IAM role. So we are not going for enable enhanced monitoring. So let us uncheck this. And also we don't want this. Okay, maintenance we have already set every Monday. Let's say every Saturday at this time maintenance happens. Deletion protection, we know already. We have seen it in EBS, S3 also, right? Enable deletion protection means no one can delete until it is removed. If you want to delete a database, um, as an admin, you have to uncheck this, then only it can be deleted. Suppose you are admin and people actually working with database are different. Your database team will be working with the database, but as a admin you have enabled this deletion protection. If they cannot delete the database, if they want to delete the database for some reason, they have to request admin, then only, if it is unchecked, then only they can delete it. And you can estimate monthly costs, right? And these costs include your EC2 instance cost, because RDS is running on EC2 instances. If you are running your database service, that means your instance is also running. And also the SSD. See here we are creating 20 GB of general purpose SSD, and we know 30 GB is the max limit. So if you want to increase or decrease this SSD, I think decrease, we have to see is it possible or not. So 20 GB anyway, it's under 30 GB limit. So and then 20 GB for automated backup storage, and any user initiated DB snapshots. Right, and these are free tier limits. So if your instance is running on T2.micro instance within the 750 hours, if it doesn't exceed 750 hours, and within this we don't get a charge for our database. Suppose you have already used 750 hours with EC2 instances. Now you are creating a database, you don't have that 750 hours. Now you might get charged, otherwise not. So we are creating our database in free tier. And create database. Let's say create database. Only numbers, letters accepted, and must start with a letter. Let's say database admin. Create database. Our database is getting creating status. You can see creating. It takes some time. And you can restore from S3. If data is coming into S3, and that if that database is suitable for your database, you can restore from S3. And it's getting created. Status creating. So meanwhile, we know snapshots, automated backups, same like we have EC2 instance reservation. Here also we have reserved instances for database. And you can look into the subnet group. It says default VPC 5678853D. So this subnet is not among these subnets. So let's go here and check now. I have created this private subnet anyway. See, this is 1A subnet. 1A subnet 4A922. So whereas this is different. So there is a separate subnet for DB instances, and where it is in 1A availability zone, but it doesn't use the VPC subnet. It creates one more subnet, and we don't know what is that subnet, what is its CIDR range. AWS will not expose all these details for us. Okay, yes, it's there. These are our availability zones. Why? Because it's AWS managed service. Need not bother about these things. And then automated backups. See, backup is there, but since database itself, is still in creating status. And then we have query editor. Okay, still we don't have a database available. You can write your queries using query editor. And here one more thing this database supports. Let us go to actions. Um, create read replica. We know what stop the DB instance, reboot the instance, delete. We know that. Take a snapshot. We also know that taking a copy. And what we need to know is create read replica and restore to point in time. You can create a read replica of your database. Where it is useful is suppose you are getting lot of read queries or lot of get requests, we say get queries to the database. And to increase the performance of your database, what you can do, this is your original database. You can create a replica of it, copy of it, and it is called as read replica. When you create a read replica, this is your master database or original database. You will create a read replica database, and all the get queries, read queries will be directed to read replica. And only if you want to update anything, that is writing, update queries, write queries will go to the original database. So that will result in improved performance and availability of your database. And when you update the master database or original database, read replica will also get updated. So read replica is only for read requests. You cannot directly update read replica. Right, let's see. Still it's under this status only. Now it's backing up. Okay, now it's available. And also let's see automated backup, demo database automated backup is there. And we don't have this earliest restorable time, latest restorable time as of now, because just now we have created it. And let's go to the database and actions. It's available, then actions. Why I can delete but can't take. Okay, now create read replica. The same things again, we are creating one more instance class. and the same options which we have seen while creating a database, same options, right? And database port, IAM authentication, monitoring, log groups, everything is same. This is a replica. When we are not creating read replica, cancel. And then we have restore to point in time. Say we have given a window for automated backups, but it's not like that. AWS, suppose I have given automated backups to happen in 11:30 p.m. every day. Every day at 11:30 p.m. Backups will happen for the database. Say if my database has crashed at 10:30, 1 hour before, 1 hour before the backup, database has been crashed, and I have an option of restoring the database from backup. But the thing is, the backup will happen at 11:30. I have previous day backup. Anyway, previous day backup will be there. So if I look into this automated backups console, tomorrow one more backup will be there. So right, every day at 11:30 it will take a backup of database. So I can restore previous days backup anyway, but I will miss all the updates happened today from morning, because database crashed at 10:30 p.m. So what are all the transactions or updates that are made to the database? We will miss that. So that is a problem. So it's not like that. It's not like that you can restore database from this only. You can restore database. See, go here, actions, restore to point in time, and it will show you latest restorable database. You need not wait for that 11:30. So latest restorable time is 7:40. And what is the time now? It's 7:44. And so point in time to restore comes to rescue us here. You will lose only that 4 minutes if any update or any uh, entry happened in that 4 minutes. So you might miss that one, which is comparatively very less loss, right? Restorable point in time, and the proper backup you'll have at the given window. And also same thing with maintenance at the given time window every day, or if you have chosen for once in a week, the maintenance will also happen. And when if you want to restore the database, that means you are creating a database, restoring the database with all the data uh, up up to, with all the updates up to this point, 7:40, right? So we can see all the options uh, when we go while creating the database. Also we got same set of options, right? So same set of options again. Okay, cancel. And we also have something called promote, right? So these promote, what it will do, um, it will promote the database. Promote the database in terms of operation. Say you have already created a read replica, and we know that read replica is different, and your database, original database, is different. If you want to promote read replica from read replica to normal database, which can handle both read and write queries, so you can promote. So promote specific operations. So then you'll use this promote. Since this is a regular database, we don't have that promote option. For read replicas, you'll get this promote option, because read replicas will not have all the uh, permissions. So you can use promote there and promote them as a regular database instances. And take a snapshot, we know, taking an copy. And while deleting a database, you have to be careful. RDS, why? Because while deleting a database, it allows to delete after taking a backup. So after deleting the database, there will be a snapshot. You should also delete the snapshot. And coming to connecting to this database, and this database is private one, right? And this is the database endpoint, also called as host name, and it's in availability zone 1A, and within this VPC. And where is the IP? And we don't know IP, we only know the endpoint. Since it's AWS managed service, we don't know the IP address. We will only get the DNS name or endpoint name. And I have to use this port in order to connect with database. And since it's a private database, we cannot connect it from through public internet. I have to connect it through EC2 instance. And connecting to database through EC2 instance is simple. You have to install MySQL, yeah, and then connect. Suppose if you want to do it from your laptop, if database is public, this has no public accessibility. So if public accessibility is yes, then we have an option of connecting to database from laptop through something called Workbench. Then you should install this Workbench, MySQL Workbench. And it's a visual data tool for database architects. Download, and you have these visual steps also. So following that, you can connect to database using Workbench. And remember, public access should be S if you want to use Workbench. Otherwise, you cannot connect using public internet. That means you cannot connect from your laptop. And download this. And unfortunately, this Workbench is not supported by my version of OS. Say download. So I already have it. I downloaded once. Let me say. Okay, maybe I have deleted it. Okay, MySQL Workbench Community, this one. Right, you can install this. Okay, anyway, but I tried to install it, but it says Workbench 8.0. This is not working with my Mac version. So try also connecting with Workbench. And the other option for private DB instances is EC2. So the only option for private DB instances is connecting with EC2. Whereas if public accessibility is there from your local environment also through internet, you can connect to database services. So let's go to EC2. I already have this instance one. Let us start it. Start instance. Meanwhile, you should update the security group of the instance. Security group should contain this one, MySQL. So it's saying it gets MySQL and inbound rules. Yes, we can connect to MySQL. MySQL rule has to be added here. And also we will go to since that instance is private, we will go to RDS. And the security group we are using is MyLinux SG. And go to database, demo database, configuration, connectivity and security. Okay, here we have used this VPC security group. If we go here, so this VPC security group by default has two inbound rules and one outbound permission entry. So let us look into this security group. So it allows MySQL and it allows HTTP to let in from this source. But now we have made it as private instance. So we cannot send from this source, which is internet. So edit inbound rules, add rule, MySQL rule, MySQL rule, this time from security group of EC2 instance. My Linux SG. So from our EC2 instance is a part of this security group, right? So that's it. And save rules. Right, and also outbound rules. All traffic is allowed outside, so need not bother about this. Now we have also added the inbound rule. Now go to EC2 instance. So this is our VPC ID. And no need to bother about EC2 instance security group, but anyhow MySQL rule has to be there in inbound, and we know outbound traffic anyways, everything is allowed. And at EC2 level, add this one, add a MySQL rule, right? But it doesn't affect right inbound rule, and then outbound rule need not worry about it. By default, all the outbound rules are allowed. Okay, inbound rules, edit inbound rules. We have two. Okay, since I have selected IPv6, that's why there are two MySQL. Otherwise, add one more rule allowing MySQL from this security group. Let's say copy, go here. Okay, this one, save rules. Done. And since our database is private, otherwise just adding an MySQL, adding the internet CIDR block is enough. Now let us go and connect. login as root user, and yum install MySQL. Okay, I don't know why have I deleted any VPC related things or no? I'm not getting this. Nothing is going out of my EC2 instance for some reason. So I am not able to install MySQL. Let us change the region, and changing the region again I have to create a database in that region. Let us try creating one more EC2. Launch instance. Okay, next add storage, security group. We'll choose this one, and then launch. Terminate this instance. And also I'll check my VPC once. Let's come here. Let's say connect. Okay. And say login as root user. I'm getting this. Yeah, seems like I wrote to AWS regarding billing. Few services related to SageMaker, I couldn't figure out how to end them. Maybe I asked them to terminate from their side. Some action they would have taken. Otherwise, I'm getting this since morning. Nothing is going out of my EC2 instance. Okay, then we will try this tomorrow, connecting to MySQL. So you have to install MySQL. Steps are simple. After making those two changes, adding in the security group, you have to install yum install MySQL and then connect. Say MySQL. Anyway, it will not work. I have not installed a MySQL package. After installing MySQL package, Give the host name. Host name you'll get from RDS. Database. This endpoint is the host name. Copy this. And then give the port name. After that, username. Username, this database admin. And then password. It will ask you to give the password, but it says MySQL command not found. Since we have not installed this MySQL, unable to do that. Okay. Otherwise, it will ask you password. After giving password, you can connect to your MySQL database. Okay. Clear, guys? Any doubts? Okay, then see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we will talk about DynamoDB. Okay, then take care, everyone. See you tomorrow.